All right, folks, it's time for World Edition here on Pod TV. And of course, a lot going on in the world and around the world and in that space. The Gaza ceasefire talks resume in Egypt as Israel intercepts another aid flotilla. So, definitely Whitcomb and Kushner are over there in Egypt, and they're set to join the Israel Hamas talks in Egypt, and we'll see how this is going. Senior U.S. officials are joining the Gaza ceasefire talks as momentum builds. So that is definitely something that folks are talking about as well. Time may be running out for the master of clocks, Macron. What's next for France is a question that is being asked. So France's crisis takes an unexpected turn as Macron's allies defy him. With Sebastian Lecornu's resignation, France faces increasing turmoil. So definitely caretaker French Prime Minister Lecornu, hopeful on budget, chance of snap election less likely. So definitely that's something that folks are talking about as well. And hundreds of Mount Everest hikers rescued from snowstorm. 10 remain. Hundreds of hikers rescued from Mount Everest after a severe snowstorm. Some 900 were stranded by a blizzard at Mount Everest, and they have reached safety. I was lucky to get out. Everest hikers battle hypothermia as blizzard rescue continues. We will rise. Grief, defiance, and hope as 30,000 gather in Tel Aviv 2 years after October 7th. And NPR is talking about the cost of Israel's longest war for Israelis. So Israel marks the 2-year anniversary of October 7th in subdued fashion. Jeremy Bowen, 2 years on, will Israel and Hamas seize the chance to end the war? And that's being reported in the BBC. Famed polar exploration ship Endurance not as strong as legend held, researchers are saying. So Ernest Shackleton's doomed Endurance wasn't built to handle polar ice, and he knew it. New analysis found. So one of the famous shipwrecks in history was doomed from the start, and the captain knew. Researchers rewrite the history of one of the world's most famous shipwrecks 110 years later. And soldiers are under investigation after 6 people were shot dead on the highway in Mexico. And a bear entered the Japanese supermarket, pounces on the customers, and definitely that is something going on as well. An agitated bear injured 2 people in Japan grocery store as a man was killed in a separate suspected attack. So bear attacks leave 3 injured in Gunma Akita projectors in Japan. So even one of the people injured was a Spanish tourist. So I guess that bear wanted to get whatever he wanted to get out of the grocery store. And the New York Times is reporting how the right uses Charlie Kirk's death to further their policies. And Scott spy case collapse blamed on UK government failure to label China a threat. Starmer is denying trying to appease China, says spying case dropped on legal grounds. UK prosecutor says the spying case collapsed because the government wouldn't call China a threat. So definitely that is something that folks are talking about as well. And Jonathan Powell will be facing the MP's overrole in collapse of the espionage trial. And Gaza's children face genetic harm for generations to come from Israel's genocide. So UNICEF official says Gaza babies are forced to share oxygen masks, and Israel is challenging the UN data. Gaza war has killed an estimated 20,000 kids. CBS News meets many more orphaned and always scared. So definitely even the New Lines magazine is talking about the burden of metaphor in Gaza. And Israeli military intercepts another flotilla heading to Gaza. So definitely that is something going on. And Israel accused of detaining Greta Thunberg in an infested cell and making her hold flags. So definitely U.S. activists from the Gaza flotilla alleges psychological torture by Israel. And Japan's likely next prime minister wrestles coalition backlash. So Japan's politics enter its heavy metal phase. So yen traders caught in a mass square up following the Takeshi win. So Japan's new leader gets a volatile greeting from the markets. And Hamas seeking Marwan Barghouti release in Gaza talks, according to Egypt media. So as Trump's Gaza deal nears, family warns Israel not to free another Sinwar. So top officials head to peace talks as Hamas submits list of prisoners it wants freed. So Gaza ceasefire talks are continuing. Hamas says hostage and prisoner list exchange with Israel. Britain's once mighty Conservative Party is battling to avoid extinction. There's one issue that's key to a Tory revival. Friend or foe, Tories grapple with the rise of the Reform Party. I don't think I'd ever say this. Let's hope that the Tory Party can be saved, is an article that was written in The Guardian. And Myanmar, at least 24 killed as an army paraglider bombs a Buddhist festival. So at least 18 were killed by military bombing at a Myanmar Buddhist candlelight festival, human rights organization says. Myanmar military strikes village in a paramortar raid, killing at least 20 people, including children. So definitely that's something that folks are talking about as well. And see how 2 years of war, loss, and heartbreak has changed these Palestinians in Gaza is a report that was coming out of CNN. And definitely that's something that folks are looking at as these talks continue. An Ecuadorian president's car attacked in protest over diesel prices. So analyzing video of an alleged assassination attempt of the Ecuador's president. Ecuador's president unharmed after protesters attacked his motorcade. 5 arrested after an alleged assassination attempt on Ecuador President Nuboy. And definitely high security, a fact of life for UK's Jews living in fear of attack. Synagogue terrorists called cops mid-attack to brag. I have killed 2 Jews in the name of ISIS. I didn't realize how much I loved my hometown until a terrorist attacked it. I pray unity prevails there, in an article in The Guardian. And British Jews further tightened security measures after Yom Kippur attack in Manchester. And Gazelle Pellicot's ex-husband tells court man convicted of rape knew she was sedated. So that's definitely something that people are talking about as well. And they're following that story and seeing how that is going. So ex-husband contradicts a man appealing conviction in the Pellicott rape case. So witnesses testify defendant fully aware he was assaulting Gazelle Pellicott, and Gazelle Pellicott to face one of her rapists in court as French women fear nothing has changed. And definitely there's still people that are getting the Nobel Peace Prize, and even some folks are asking, what is the Nobel Peace Prize, and could Donald Trump get it? So definitely that's something that folks are asking as they are continuing to award the prize. And as a matter of fact, recently the chemistry Nobel Prize was awarded to a trio in the field of metal organic frameworks. And an EU chief says Russia is waging a gray zone campaign, and all along those lines. And even The Economist is saying while Russia's aggressions against Europe are proliferating, so Russia is raising a gray zone campaign against Europe, is something that von der Leyen is warning. So EU needs broader response to hybrid warfare threats, is what she said as well. And 2 years after October 7th, Israel rediscovers the scale and limits of its power. So global outrage has grown after 2 years of bombardment in Gaza. In Israel, it is a different story. So how Netanyahu's Mideast map of opportunities is turning into Israel's map of threats 2 years after October 7th. And a one-man spam campaign ravages the EU chat control bill. So a potential EU law sparks global concern over end-to-end encryption for messaging apps. Signal calls on Germany to vote against chat control, saying it would leave EU market. So Germany rejects EU chat control proposal to police a messaging app. And protests held in support of Palestinians on 2-year anniversary of the Hamas attack. Starmer targets the inflammatory chants at the Palestinian protests for further curbs, and U.S. government asks pro-Palestinian supporters not to government did that, and they did it anyway. So Starmer urges UK students not to protest as Israel marked that 2 years since the October 7th attack, and all along those lines. And Pope Leo the 14th is to visit Turkey and Lebanon on his first foreign trip. and everything like that. And I'm sure he'll be bringing a message of positivity of some sort or another. So we'll find out how this goes as he will be visiting that area in November in his first trip abroad. And Germany will allow police to shoot down drones. So Germany draws up a law to allow police to shoot down drones, and some folks, including the DW, are asking who is responsible for Germany's drone defense. Laser installed at Germany's airport to ward off drones, according to a media report. So definitely, folks are looking at that as well. And we'll see other stories, including Canadian's Marine Land Theme Park says it will have to euthanize the 30 beluga whales. So, Marine Park in Ontario warns it may euthanize the beluga whales without a cash infusion. And the more recent thing is it's saying its remaining belugas shouldn't be sent to an NS sanctuary. So, we'll see how this all plays out as well. And Russian forces seized nearly 5,000 square kilometers of Ukrainian land in 2025, according to Putin. So Putin is claiming that, and we'll see if that is the case or not the case, and all along those lines. So definitely that is something that people are talking about as well. And meeting with Defense Secretary, Ministry, and General Staff senior officials, Putin calls the invasion of Ukraine right and portrays mass destructions as a liberation. And Trump's changes in strategy put a lasting Gaza ceasefire within reach. So Trump huddles with Kushner and Witkoff ahead of the crucial Gaza talks. So, excuse me, Trump shifts into high gear to end the war, and Netanyahu knows he can't stop him. So Trump cites Qatar as most influential in the Gaza talks. And Ukraine mounts a second straight night of mass drone strikes on Russia. 5 killed in a large Russian missile and drone attack, according to what Zelensky is saying. And Russia air attack across Ukraine damages energy network and kills 5 a few days ago. So Russia says it downed 251 Ukrainian drones, including 61 over the Black Sea. And Thunberg shares images of emaciated Israeli hostage in post-protesting treatment, and all along those lines. So hostage's sister slams Greta Thunberg over the Gaza Post. So Greta Thunberg was slammed for sharing images of Israel hostage in post on Palestinian prisoners. And the German mayor-elect gravely wounded in a stabbing attack. We were talking about that yesterday a little bit as well. And Ukraine drone strikes are driving as Russia oil exports surge. So tanker freight rates for Russian crude to India climb on higher seaborne exports, according to sources. And Ukraine's attack on oil refineries forced Russia to maximize oil imports, and all along those lines. So I think I've got a couple of folks coming in and joining me. So we'll see who's got with me. I've got Jatofi for one, so I'll see if anybody else joins us, and all along those lines. But a lot's going on in the world. We still got these folks that are talking about the Texas National Guard seen at a training center in Chicago suburbs. So troops arrive in Elwood, Illinois, and protests expected in the city on today. And Pritzker claims you can't believe anything ICE is doing, suggests it's committing felonies. So we got folks asking what we know about the National Guard deployment in Chicago and Portland. And Trump-backed Van Epps and Democrat Bean win Tennessee primaries for special House elections. So we'll see how that election goes as well. So Democrat Afton Bean advances to the special election in the battle for the vacant congressional seats in deep red districts. And Trump is open to invoking the Insurrection Act, and we'll see how that plays out as well. And they're even saying that Trump could use the Insurrection Act to send troops to American cities. And Trump says Chicago mayor, Illinois governor should be jailed for their response to ICE. So he's threatening jail for the Chicago mayor and the Illinois governor. And he posted on True Social that they should be in jail. So he's doing a lot of catfishing and talks around what he will do, and all along those lines. So it'll be interesting to see what goes on in that space. And the federal government shutdown grinding into the second week. But quiet talks are emerging. White House draws out mass federal firing timeline as GOP grows squeamish in the funding fight, and government shutdown as Senate prepares to vote again. So lots going on in that space. How are you doing? What are you thinking about this strike and all along those lines, and the National Guard in these various cities, Jacoby?
I mean, it's an authoritarian move. I mean, yes, the claims that oh well, stop calling us fascists. Well, stop doing things that are very similar to fascism.
They
I
shot a
mean,
priest in the head with a pepper ball. A
yeah,
priest
they
is
also remember they shot. So now they shot a priest. They shot a woman and blame in Chicago. What was it? Chicago. They shot a woman and tried to frame her as being somebody attacking the police, attacking ICE. Then they also shot canisters at the police in Illinois. I mean,
oh
it's
yeah, they tear gassed, yeah, the actual police officers.
yeah, this is
Yeah,
bad.
And there's footage of Christy Nome standing on a roof in Portland, and it's being framed by Fox News as a brave stand against protesters. And then if you look at how many protesters there are roughly 16 protesters down on the street, including a guy in a chicken suit.
yeah, they're saying that she's being slammed by local elected as a pansy. So Portland leaders are seeking dialogue while Christy Nome slams local elected officials as pansies. And apparently, Mayor Wilson responded following meetings with Secretary Nome. Portland continues to manage public safety professionally and responsibly, and all along those lines. But even MAGA influencers are mocked for bragging about Christy Nome staring down army of Antifa, which included, like you said, a chicken and about a dozen people.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you could fit the entire protest in a freight elevator.
yeah,
Well,
it's an embarrassment. But then you have people parroting what Christy Nome is saying, what Karen Levins is saying, what Donald Trump is saying. That oh well, it's all on fire.
what is what's our take on? Apparently, I guess she's not as far right as she used to be, but she still is far right. But
MTG.
Marjorie Taylor Greene is increasingly bucking her uh,
Yeah,
people.
I'm starting to love MTG because she just says whatever she thinks, and well, sometimes it's calling out the right for being shitty.
She's definitely willing to call out folks, both on the right and the left, and it seems like they're saying that it
I
could be
mean,
a
I won't
crack.
give her. I mean, I can't go that far. I mean, a broken watch is right twice a day.
Yeah, but
So
she's being right like four times a day.
I mean, I'll give it to her that coming from Jewish space lasers to now saying that okay, well, Israel what's going we need to uh, feed the individuals or the Palestinian people after she was one of the ones that campaigned that people on college campuses that were trying to do the same thing that she is saying now were pro Hamas. So I can't give her too much credit. I'm glad that she's come off of some of her positions, but I
Well, how
can't give
much
her
how much
a
credit are you
whole
going
lot
to
of
give?
credit.
I got you, Jacoby. How much credit are you going to give us for having a ex football player now being confirmed as the U.S. ambassador to the Bahamas? Because apparently Herschel Walker is now our ambassador to the Bahamas and everything. So I don't know
Yeah,
exactly.
there's
There's a
just
lot more to that.
impunity. Herschel Walker is a notorious idiot and rapist and just a. But on the other hand, it's just the Bahamas. I don't know.
No, there's a lot more to it than that. So remember, what is it to take away the 60 vote ceiling to reopen the government? They need another individual. That other individual is now Herschel Walker, a failed person who ran for Congress or ran for it was either House or the Senate in Georgia because of the rape, dealing with his own kids that he won't even claim. I mean, he's a horrible person.
What's the
They're
60 vote
using
thing? I
him.
don't understand. What does being an ambassador have to do with a 60 vote?
So does he now get a vote to? Uh, does he now fit that 53 vote, or that make that 53rd vote to drop the threshold from 60 in terms of reopening the government to drop that threshold from 60 to 53?
Yeah, but I think he's just an ambassador. I don't think he's a senator. So even though Bahamas has got some U.S. ties, I don't think that he has the vote tie and everything like that. So I think that we should be all right there and everything. We're looking at all kinds of attacks, and apparently there was one yesterday, which I'm just now hearing about. But a man was arrested at a D Catholic church because he had 200 homemade explosives and was threatening to detonate a tent filled with outside a D.C. church that was hosting Supreme Court justices. So it looks like he might have had 200 handmade grenades that were found in a tent outside the D.C. cathedral. So it looks like this one was going to be a bomb attack and everything like that. So, what is your take on these folks that might be feeling emboldened to do a lot of crazy things?
They're emboldened by
It's
the president.
always stochastic terrorism, which is a fancy term for if you do a lot of hate speech, then the lunatics are going to do crazy, dangerous shit. Because we have 1/3 billion people in America, and that includes a very small fraction of dangerous, murderous lunatics. And you get them worked up by hate speech.
Yeah, definitely. Hey, Sasha, it looks like, as you mentioned this earlier, that some of the even farmers and people that backed Trump in the past are starting to have second thoughts and everything. Because there was an article, I think it might have been in one of the networks, about a soybean farmer who backed Trump, feeling strain of the Chinese boycotts amid the trade war. So, are we going to see some more of these Trump-like folks realizing the pain of what they're going through and maybe having second thoughts about who they backed in the presidential election?
Yeah, it's happening. And in fact, yesterday there was a disastrous meeting in the White House between Canadian Premier and Donald Trump. Um, so, interestingly enough, the real power in Canada in manufacturing and everywhere is with provincial premiers, not federal. And the provincial premiers, including Doug Ford in Ontario, he's absolutely furious. And at Trump, of course, but also at Premier Minister Carney. He says he was so nice to Trump that he would like him to come across to Canadian provincial premiers and explain what it is. What is the special relationship between him and Trump? So people would understand where it's all coming from. So Carney will have to do a lot of answering for this appeasement of Trump and praying all kind of accolades to Trump. What a wisdom and what a talent Trump displays and all this bullshit. So Carney has a lot of explanation to do in the next few days. But the Premier of Ontario, Doug Ford, who is a leader among all these Canadian premiers, only Alberta's premier has a little bit more of independence, but even so, the Doug Ford is the power. So he is chastising the America, and mm, he's suggesting that he thinks that the Trump will say the few idiotic phrases about that Canada and United States compete in all industries, so it will be better for them to be the same state. What an idiot! What a moron!
So
Okay.
I've got soybean numbers here.
Yeah.
So for the past 5 years, China's bought about half of 30 to 50% of U.S. soybeans.
Mhm.
Now they're buying 0%. So the price of soybeans is down 25%. And farmers, they don't work on a 25% margin. They probably work on a 5% margin. So basically, if they want to sell their soybeans, they're going to be selling them at a loss.
Yeah. Well, Trump has never been a big fan of things around the climate, but apparently he's going to axe all 7 hydrogen hubs. So that's something that people have been talking about, and that's going to buck bipartisan law. So major climate pollution removal project in even Johnson's district could be on Trump's chopping block. So what is our thoughts around this notion that maybe he's not going to support hydrogen or windmills or a number of other things that could definitely help with the energy?
All right, Trump is a belligerent idiot, and a lot of the alternative energy sources that he is trying to shut down in favor of crap sources like coal, these sources have become the price of using alternative energy has been dropping to the point where it's a better deal than crap sources like coal. And so, yeah, Trump is costing the U.S. In terms of pollution and in terms of money, because solar's getting cheaper. All these. He's America's worst businessman.
Speaking of the worst
But
businessman,
in the 30 years before he announced for president in 2015, he lost more money than any other American. His business strategy is to run bad businesses, suck millions out for himself with salary, and then let the business go bankrupt. He's a good businessman.
hey Rick, apparently, and maybe other people have got thoughts around this, but there are a lot of people that depend on aid in order to survive and everything like that. But the White House is saying it has the funding to save the food aid program, namely WICS. But they're trying to blame the Democrats for the potential WICS labs announcing creative solutions to keep the program running, including using tariff revenue to fund food aid benefits. So what is our thoughts around the fact that a lot of people could be using WIC support, which a lot of people need to get their basic substance, whether that's bread or whether that's other things that people need on a regular basis and everything like that. So what is our thoughts around this notion that they're saying that they got the funding, because we oftentimes talk about funding here on this network, to save the program, but it might involve tariff revenue?
That's a lie. They already cut that funding in the big beautiful bill. So this whole thing is the same thing they talked about they're going to use tariffs to fund the farmers.
Yep.
In the first time Trump was president, the farmers, he had to give subsidies to farmers because his policies led to farmers being unable to sell their crops and a collapse in prices. So he's going to have to do it again.
Hey, speaking of that, and I know we've talked about this, and I'd love to hear from anybody that wants to bring it up or throw their thoughts around it. But apparently, we've always had this conversation, both in this administration of Trump and the last administration, about the border wall. And apparently, the Trump administration has announced that the fewest border apprehensions since 1970, and they're saying that the illegal U.S.-Mexico border crossings have hit the lowest level in over 50 years. So they are touting this, and they're talking about it plummeting since levels that have not been seen since the 1970s and the early 70s at that. So what is our take on this? Is this real or is this made-believe numbers?
I'm not informed. I don't know.
I mean, regardless, made believe or real numbers, we've lost 10% of the U.S. dollar and 17 or 12% of the tourism. So we're losing a ton of money. And then on top of that, there are different industries that are suffering mightily due to the fact that we're losing a lot due to his not only tactics, but also the individuals that are being accosted and disappeared. It's not a good thing.
Hey, Jacoby, and other people can chime in as well, but I have good friends, I have favorite folks over there at Fox are upset at Mamdani, and they're saying that he is a little more than a Muslim terrorist, and they're even advocating yanking his citizenship and deportation and everything like that because he made some comments that apparently drew ire from Israel, but he did attend an Israelis for Peace vigil on yesterday. So what is our take on what's going on with Mamdani? Was he win the New York Bay Area election? And what is our take on him?
The betting market says he has a 90% chance. He's got a 90% chance of getting elected. He's running against, I guess, Cuomo is
right.
And Cuomo, nobody likes Cuomo. Cuomo showed himself to be a scumbag, and I think people are willing to give Mondami a chance.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, yeah, what he said, it was poorly timed.
Yeah, it was definitely poorly timed and everything like that. Hey, Sasha, what are your companies? And I know you'll be talking about it on the whole show that you do at 1 o'clock, the investment show. And I know you're a big fan of Nvidia, but apparently Nvidia is going to be footing the bill for Trump's new visa fees. So definitely, apparently, their CEO Jensen Hung has gotten involved in this and everything like that because that's that H-1B visa fees that folks are saying could strain universities and schools. So they're going to continue sponsoring H-1B visas, is what Business Insider is reporting. So what's our take on this notion of them footing the bill for Trump's visa
Well,
fees?
let's talk about what the bill is. The bill is $100,000 a year for each H-1B visa holder that you employ.
Right.
Which, yeah. So if you have 1,000 H-1B employees, then you're going to be paying what, $100 million?
Something like that.
Um,
What's a good way to stay in good favor with a individual who's a wannabe dictator and a transactional individual?
Exactly. This is a case of NVIDIA management's wisdom to understand that for next slightly over 3 years, they are living under the regime which is run by idiot and through his helpers who are just even, probably even bigger idiots, although it's difficult to imagine. So for in monetary wise for Nvidia, this a few $100 million or even $1 billion is really nothing because look at what they've done lately. They injected $5 billion into Intel. What is Intel? It's a corporation where 10% belongs to U.S. government. So essentially, U.S. government is probably the biggest shareholder of Intel, and in that particular company, you put $5 billion. What's for Nvidia $5 billion? Nothing. It's like for me to buy a cup of coffee. That's all. Now, next thing what Nvidia does, it injects $100 billion into supposedly it's not associate company, but a closely tied company, OpenAI. $100 billion. Now the question is it already been delivered? Has AI, OpenAI, got exactly $100 billion already from NVIDIA? Absolutely not. But what's OpenAI did just a couple of days ago, they are committing to become the largest shareholder of AMD. Any way you look at it, although there's a relationship between the CEO of NVIDIA and CEO of the AMD. But let's put it aside. There's at least supposedly they are treated as competitors. So OpenAI, after accepting investment from NVIDIA for $100 billion, sorry, what I'm saying, $5 billion. Is it five or is it $100 billion? No, it's difficult now to calculate. It doesn't matter. Say $100 trillion. Okay, let's make everybody happy. 5, 10, 20, $100 trillion. Does it stick? I hope so. Okay, I'm exaggerating. But
Yeah, we'll find out.
however, OpenAI now dealing after accepting the $100 billion from NVIDIA, now they're dealing wonderful deal with uh, the NVIDIA's competitor, AMD. How does it work? What's happening? Now I want to tell you the proliferation of some useless mem companies like Rigetti Computer, like Q NBS or something close to that. The company is practically no revenue. They claim to quantum computers. It's a hoax. There's no such thing as quantum computers. They could be available and useful maybe in 10 years. Right now, they are useless. And in fact, one of the contributors to Yahoo Finance, he approached QBTS company. He wanted to buy one of their quantum computers, and he had money available to pay for it instantly. You know what was the reply? Sorry, we don't have a product that you requested. Go and figure out.
Well,
I mean, quantum computers are a real thing. However, you're right, Sasha. They're not consumer. They're not set for consumers yet, and they're not in a position where, uh, without some extreme setup, you're not going to be able to have a quantum computer setup. Yeah, I mean they really are amazing because there was actually one that just I forgot the article I just read too. As I'm sitting here playing a game, but yeah, quantum computers are a real thing. It is the next evolution in computing. I mean, if we ever crack that barrier, that opens up a lot of things. But no, there's nothing. The investment is in research in quantum computing. There's not going to be a personal computer that is a quantum computer or a server that's a quantum computer for decades. You got a while before that gets done because of what has to be done.
Shatori, I'm talking from investment point of view. Do you remember 2-3 years ago there were a craze of meme stocks like GameStop, like AMC, and
Yep.
the company with no profits and nothing even on the horizon, they would go up 100% a week, 200% or so on. Now, same thing is now happening with the quantum computer stock. Companies with no revenue, with no sales. Oh, sorry, no, there is a sale. Rigetti sold something worth $5 million delivered by second quarter of next year. So company with $5 million revenue at mid the next year is trading at valuations of billions and billions of dollars. Go and figure out.
So the quantum computing is like it's like fusion. At this point, you can get positive results, but the cost of getting positive results is hundreds of times the result. You know, the money you put in is way more than the benefit what you're getting out. Eventually, the costs will drop, but that's still years away. It's
that might even be decades away because
right now, and Sasha, everybody that's jumping into quantum computing knows that yes, AI is going to be where it's going to be. I mean, AI is the end all be all that everybody's going for. However, the problem with what we're doing in the States around AI and what China is actually doing is trying to build an ecosystem around AI. The US is just trying to build a leader in AI. And with quantum computing, that's what the big thing is if you build a leader, somebody like I hate to use Terminator as an example, but like Skynet. Skynet was all about this one giant company owning it all and creating this AI model that was, the ruler of everything, which is what the U.S. is focused on. That's quantum.
How far away do you think we are from quantum? Jacoby, just really quickly, how far away do you think we are from quantum technology and stuff like that? I think I mentioned on this show several times that my cousin or one of my cousins is involved in warp technology and everything like that. So there are people that are doing in companies research on actually having warp technology.
I've got numbers for this. The largest quantum computer is at Caltech, and it's got 6,000 qubits.
Yep.
Which is a quantum bit. And they compare that to the trillions of bits that you have in some normal computing systems. Plus, quantum computing isn't for every application. You need specialized programming. You need specialized. It's way far away from.
Oh yeah, we're way far away from
AI. AI electricity costs across most of America are at all-time highs, I believe, because AI is sucking up all this power, and there's a huge race. It's like in 2020, all the streaming services like Netflix were trying to become the number one leader in streaming, and they were going crazy, making a zillion program, making a bunch of TV shows, spending billions, and nobody won the streaming wars. Eventually, they calmed down. But now with AI, people are doing the same thing, going crazy, and but nobody is figuring out how to make AI economical in terms of computation.
Yeah,
And that's where
and we not Nvidia, Netflix. They are not spending billions on their programs. Watch their serials. They have series produced in Brazil, Colombia, and other countries for next to nothing. They show beautiful views of Rio de Janeiro, for example, or Cartagena, or some other beautiful cities in the South America. They have very good acting. They have very good scripts, but it's not billions of dollars.
No, but that's 2025. In 2020, in 2019, right before COVID, coincidentally, Netflix and a bunch of the other streamers were having a war to throw a bunch of stuff into production, and which was great for us during COVID because we had a bunch of stuff to watch. But now, yeah, production is down 40-50% because they're like, we couldn't win. Nobody won the streaming wars. But AI, you've got these 5, 6, 7 big companies competing to make the biggest, best, fastest, most amazing AI, and it's not economically feasible that they're going to get the money back that they've been spending. But also, they're after the bubble pops,
again, just to point out, and this is why I showed that thing after I think it was Monday when Doc was talking about the things going on in Asia and Bangladesh and how the opening of the doors there. That's why I showed the thing about what China is actually doing with AI, because that is what AI was headed towards. But and Rick, you alluded to it, saying the biggest and baddest. That's what we're thinking about instead of an ecosystem. Right now, if you take as an example, if you look at what Apple did and what Android did, those are the two big things out there. What Google did with Android, they made it open source. They made it accessible to different developers. They basically made a tool. They said, hey, look, this is our platform. You can utilize this platform. Yes, you're going to pay us a little bit for whatever you sell. But again, utilize this platform and you can use this you can create your own cell phones. You just have to put the technology together and so on and so forth.
Yeah,
made it an open source, real quick, Mark, made it an open source thing that other people can program for. You could create your own applications. You could create everything about it. That is what China is doing with AI. What we're doing is the Apple model, where Apple model made everything proprietary and made it, hey, you've got to buy Apple and this is all about us. We're going to be number one and so on and so forth. If you look at who actually, between Android and iOS, the number one platform across the globe is the Android system. Why? Because it can be used on more phones. Yes, Apple has dominated the market in terms of just being the one phone, but if you add into account all the other platforms that are utilizing the Android model, Android is much bigger. It's the same thing Microsoft did when Microsoft and Mac were at their competing, because Apple went straight down the road of, we're going to go for the artists and so on and so forth, and we're going to make everything proprietary. You got to buy our MacBooks. We're going to have this ecosystem, and this is what you're buying into, and only that. Well, Microsoft dominates the PC world, dominates the computer world. Why? Because the software was a little bit more open. It allowed more access. It allowed more people to program for it. And so, again, that is what the Chinese market is right now doing, and that's why Dr. Sharif alluded to the open doors that were there for Bangladesh and the partnerships that they allowed.
Yeah.
And same thing with what's going on in Africa. They've
Mhm.
opened the doors and done that. But we,
Hey, but speaking of
Because
not opening
this
the
is
hold on
this
a
is
second.
similar.
Speaking of
Hold
not
on,
opening
wait,
the doors and everything like that, I did have a quick question about what y'all are talking about and everything like that. Because one of the things that I saw recently, and this is right up your alley, Jitovi, and I don't know if it's the same in other countries, but they're saying that more than 60% of U.S. game players are only buying 2 games or fewer per year. So I guess they're thinking that video games are down and everything like that. So I was just wondering your take on that, and that's just in the U.S. So it might be up in other places like Bangladesh and Canada and other places, but they're saying that I guess maybe because more people are out and about that the video game market is down to some degree.
let me
So
just quickly say it might secretly be that the U.S. is fucking broke and that people aren't spending a bunch of money in general because our economy is teetering on being shitty. But last year, people spent 6 times as much on video games as they did on movies.
right,
$192 billion versus 32 for movies.
right,
so statistics around video games. Think about right now everything. I'm trying to remember I'm gonna see if I can pull up the company that does all the statistics around it. But honestly, the video game market has evolved. So when you're talking about buying particular games, yes, producers are still putting out games. However, there are so many subscription services around gaming right now. A lot of people are in those subscription services. It's the same thing with it's the same model that Netflix and HBO and all the other ones that are doing. You have the Xbox Live service. You have the Xbox game, the Xbox or the Game Pass service for the Xbox and the Microsoft stuff. You have Ubisoft, which has their services, but they're tied into their parent company, which is now Microsoft. So Microsoft puts that out. You have
yeah,
the same thing with PlayStation. You have the same thing with Nintendo, where you actually download these games and not actually purchasing these games. That's another
right.
model that's actually coming out.
Yeah,
Is
I
that
understand and everything. Just really quickly, because I didn't want to let Dr. Sharif be here and just be kind of like looking off and not having any comments. So, Dr. Sharif, what is your take on what's going on, including in the video game? Because we haven't heard from you. We've heard from everybody else, but we haven't heard from you. So, how are you doing today? And what is your thoughts around the video game market in your neck of the woods in Asia?
Okay, the video game market actually is growing, and especially the youth generation, they love these video games. They have heavily engagement. I see it last 10 years, heavily engagement with the video game markets. But I just want to share some of the issues about quantum computing and artificial intelligence as it is growing. Let's say today in Bangladesh, I'm working with ICT ministries. We have our own satellite. Also, we do focus on this artificial intelligence research and semiconductor industry. So, from my World Talent Economic Forum institutions, we offer a like the semiconductor lab for Bangladesh government. Let's see what happens. But if you see this Asian market, there are a lot of collaborations and a lot of good things happening as China is leading. Definitely, USA and China is the leader for this AI industry, and there is competition in between China and USA. So, if you see this Indian market, Anthropic to open the first India office, and they're planning for 2026. And Anthropic is known for its cloud AI model. Announced it will be established an office in Bengaluru, India, and this is one of the largest markets, right? On the other hand, OpenAI AMD chip partnerings. OpenAI struck a deal with the AMD. AMD will supply Instinct's M1450 chips and deliver up to 6 gigawatt of computing power to support OpenAI next generation and infrastructure. Definitely, if you see this Bank of England also concerned about this AI, you also launched this Apply AI strengthened sovereignty. But very interesting point for me as Trump administration, they are trying to stop immigration process. I see all of the talented, especially from this Tripoli and CSE and these computer engineers, they are now focusing on this China market as China heavily investing in what you're discussing about AI, what you're discussing about this quantum computings, what you're discussing about this like super intelligence technologies and startup. Uh, uh, they are heavily investing. Besides this game industry, drone industry also improving even in Bangladesh. We are working with Chittagong Business Incubations. It's the largest business incubations in South Asia. So they are also improving. On the other hand, uh, India Institute of Technologies, as they have a lot of talented in this area, they are also contribute a lot for this quantum computing, for this game industries, for this AI. So there are a lot of talent in the South Asia or this Asia Pacific, and most of them young, and they have core interest about STEM educations. And even though in USA university, honestly speaking, I see the Chinese and Indian student, they do more focus on STEM education compared to the North American students. So maybe Trump is right. He is growing with this populism concept, but talent has lot of opportunity. If you have talent, if you have young populations, they have lot of opportunities, and they can take these opportunities and they can move forward. On the other hand, this I just want to share this. According to my understanding, not only this Asia Pacific, UAE, the Dubai, can be the next Silicon Valley. They are doing excellent jobs. They are the first country, those who have AI ministry, right? They are the first countries in the world. They have their own AI ministries. So emerging economy doing excellent jobs. People, they have talent. They are also investing money for that particular issue. But what you discuss is these billions and trillions, and I do not know actually what the meaning of billions of trillions dollar. But I have lot of my good friends and my students in USA. They have lot of debt and they for their educations. They have to they're almost broke. So I say, why you using your time in California? Let's come to Bangladesh or India or China or Singapore and build up your careers and open new careers and everything. So I request all of the young talented people, even in USA, you should come to emerging economy. You should come Asia Pacific. You should come even Dubai, Saudi Arabia, or in Qatar. It has a huge opportunity, and you can use your talent. It's not everybody want to run behind USA. USA should come to emerging economy to grow their career. Thank you.
No problem at
I
all.
want to come here. Wait, I want to compare the AI bubble to the internet bubble of 1999.
Right.
So the big AI companies are spending more tens of billions of bucks, hundreds of billions, on building these large models, money that they will never be able to reclaim in terms of companies paying them for these services. What they want to be is the one that survives the AI wars and becomes the big one, the one that everybody uses. This is similar to in 1999, everybody thought they were going to become a millionaire by building a web portal. My writing partner and I were building the Man Show website. And we thought, well, we're going to get all the men in America. This is going to be the page they come to when they start surfing the internet, when they sit down at their computer, and we're going to be millionaires. And that didn't work. The internet bubble in '99 collapsed. It wiped out companies like Pets.com. There were a zillion companies where everybody thought they were going to get rich, and then no, everybody lost all their money. And then in the early 2000s, one company did finally emerge as the portal, Google, where
Google's the main portal now and
Well,
everything.
what you're saying, Rick, and this is why, even I'll reiterate again. There's a difference between creating creating an ecosystem and trying to dominate a market. Trying to dominate a market is what creates that bubble. Trying to create an ecosystem where there's actual useful uses with what's going on, integrating it within our society, making it have roots to where, for example, we use our cell phones every single day. Even the apps and the searches and all the other stuff, that's building an ecosystem around something that's necessary. But just creating an application where people have an ambiguity, or there's not a defined use for it yet, because when we talk about AI, we're not even thinking about all the things that it does. We're talking about all the things that, that image that it created is kind of cool. Well, that's not
Mhm.
really AI. That's just what we visually see and can. Okay, that's what I understand. Yeah, that's a bubble. That's not
Well,
that's
so,
not
hey, to
real.
tell me, speaking of that bubble and we're winding down and everything along those lines, how much do you think it matters going back to old fashioned branding when companies
Oh,
just kind of like change things? Because I just saw that Domino's, and yeah, I sometimes order Domino's, has go with a brighter logo and a new jingle, and it looks like they are trying to change their market and trying to go for a younger demographic and everything like that. They've even got something called Shibusi that they are tying into their new look and everything like that. So, how much is that old
Well,
fashioned
let
here?
Sasha. Sasha's had his
Okay,
hand up. And then,
Mark, thank you so much. I'd like to mention about what we discussed before.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, AI and there is AI and there is infrastructure required for AI, and
Right.
they're not the same. For example, the brilliant company by the name Oracle
Mm-hmm.
that went up on earnings, it jumped in one day 30%, if not more, and it was like ecstasy. Ellison became the world's richest man, surpassing Elon Musk and likes. Now, yesterday, there was a revelation that they lost $100 million on renting out NVIDIA's chips for their infrastructure projects. So right now, while they're talking about AI and infrastructure and data centers and all those wonderful things, the companies like Oracle losing $100 million. So what you gonna say about the companies like Rigetti and D-Wave Computing and all that stuff? This is, I'm afraid, a giant bubble which could be even bigger than internet bubble of the 2000.
and I agree with what you're saying, Sasha. I agree because again, if you're not creating the infrastructure, if you're not creating the ecosystem, you're just setting yourself up for a big bubble, and that's what we're doing is setting everything up for a big bubble. But this is why, again, I point out, with this integrating AI into, not only the robotics, the taxi. I mean, everything that they were integrating it in, creating an infrastructure around it, and creating that ecosystem around it, making it a necessity. That doesn't create a bubble. That creates a need. That creates other industries wanting to come in, and I need to upgrade your battery system that'll help your infrastructure or that'll help your ecosystem that you've created around AI and running that database. That's creating partnerships and so on and so forth and bleeding out. But yes, I completely agree. What we're doing in the States is battling for supremacy on AI. And that's not what we should be doing. We should be creating the infrastructure, the ecosystem, and everything else. And then that alleviates that bubble. My big question though, on a side note, Sasha, I saw that gold has spiked above
Yeah, I
4,000.
did see that.
And even more so, I guess this will go into your investment show.
Mhm. Yes.
When is the crash coming? Because that is the only reason that gold spikes.
You see, there is a correlation between gold and other assets like stocks, industrials, and AI stocks, and just any stocks. And you see, very seldom happening that both these tangible assets like stocks and gold will go higher at the same time at the furious pace. Normally, gold is like a place to park your capital while you're doing something else on stocks or bonds or anything like this. When the gold getting higher than S&P 500 or any almost any other stocks, this is a troublesome. That spells out that people don't believe in US dollar, which is going consistently down. And if people don't believe in US dollar, there is no worth to it doesn't make sense to buy stocks because stocks are nominated in US dollars. So even if you're buying stock at $200, and then say a year later you sell for 250, so you make nice profit of 25%, but the dollar at the same time went down 25%. So how much money you make? Zero. But if you would invest this money instead of stock in the gold, and gold went up, say 100% in 2 years, and it has a lot of room to run. You can't even peg, was it at 5,000, 6,000? You don't know how far. In the present environment, with the idiot president, you can't even calculate how far gold can run.
I want to get back to Mark. You mentioned Domino's.
Mhm.
Whatever Domino's is doing, they're doing it right because they dominate the market. They have 40% of the U.S. what's called the quick pizza market,
Right.
and they have 20% of the world's quick pizza market, which that's huge. So there's
Yeah, but it seems like their marketing tricks are working, and it seems like whatever they were doing was trying to go after what we've talked about before, some of the younger folks, so like the Gen Zs and other folks along those lines. So they are always, like a lot of companies, adapting and adapting.
and
their
also
market.
Domino's pizza. You make fun of it, but it's delicious. It's super salty. And it tastes great.
Yep. So on that note, we're going to get on out of here, and we'll have some more conversation around investment. Who knows? Maybe they'll be investing in dominoes for all we know on Sasha's show and all along those lines. But we're going to get on out of here, and we'll have some conversations around NVIDIA and other things at 1 o'clock. So I'll see Sasha at 1 o'clock. And of course, we've got Weed Wednesday and other shows coming this way, including Follow the Brand, which is about branding at 7 o'clock. So a number of great shows that folks can catch here on the network. But right now, it's time for us to get on out of here. So I'll catch you two gentlemen later and see you at 1 o'clock, Sasha.
Bye-bye.
Bye.